Is the Boy Scouts organization, are they a pyramid scheme? I believe they are. And this is coming from someone who was in Cub Scouts for 4 years and loved it. It majorly defined even my identity as an adult looking back on it. My life would not be the same had I not been in it. But I do recognize that it's different 30 years later. I want to share this story with you. This took place quite recently. My son wanted to go to the Cub Scout meeting to learn more about it, which for me, I knew that that meant he's probably going to end up in Cub Scouts. So I reluctantly take him to this, knowing that already living in a different life compared to me, growing up in a small town. My parents were the scout leaders, but there was like a dozen boys in our group, and it was a very passive thing. Like, you could just drop off your son every Tuesday, and that was great. And also, it was a time where it wasn't necessarily the norm that both parents worked full-time jobs like it is for me now, living in a major city in America where it's normal and almost not normal if both parents don't work. So, with such busy schedules, I take my son to the meeting. And actually, let me grab this right here. See, I am a recruiter for a living. That's what I do. So it's specifically, it's almost like being a salesman in the division of HR. That's what it's. I know what it takes to be a good salesman. It's what I've been doing my whole career. And I even made a video recently talking about the 5 ways to be a good salesman. No one taught me these. It's just in my nature. Number 1, describe the product or service, but don't ask them along the way if they're interested. Just describe it. Just by you talking about what it is and explaining it, that's basically the pitch. Because if you're noticeably a high pressure salesman, then people typically recognize that and run away. But if you're informing them, it's harder to think, well, this guy's somehow seeming disgenuine. Number 2, don't assume that person's motivation. Everyone shows up for different reasons, and if you assume they are motivated by the same things as everyone else, you could actually lose that sale. Number 3, present them with some sort of accountability. Number 4, explain the next step for them to do and a time frame to do it. And then 5, close the deal by assuming they are buying unless they directly reject you. So, again, this is my whole life doing this, recruiting. No one taught me how to do it. Either you're good at it or not. But when I recently wrote down the 5 things that make you good at it or not, that's what I came up with. And I share that with you because ultimately that was quite present in the meeting we went to. So we went in there, we're told up front, if your kid signs up, they get this special Cub Scout whistle. So naturally, the kid wants the whistle. They want to make sure that we get signed up. And then after they described all the things that the boys would get to do in Cub Scouts for the year, then the accountability started right away. As part of trying to get some skin in the game here, then it's a matter of, okay, you sit at a table with everybody in your grade, and guess what, parents? All of you are going to have some kind of leadership role in this. So either you're going to be the den leader, the assistant, you're going to be in charge of bringing all the snacks. Everybody's very involved in this. And they pass around the page, and you have to individually, as a group, figure out who's going to do what. And of course, one mom, single mom, another was the grandparent because both parents were working and couldn't be there. One didn't speak English, so she thought she was supposed to be describing why her son was even there, as far as why he wanted to join. Another dad works a lot through traveling, and he couldn't commit to it. And for me, I wasn't even really sure that we were going to do it to begin with because I already knew that with our lifestyle, we're always in danger of spreading ourselves too thin and getting involved in too much, to where the irony is that you actually lose out on quality family time for the sake of trying to have some concept of family time. And so I recognize that, I protect that, I guard that in my life. So sadly, we had to leave this thing, and my son was sad, and honestly, he and I were both holding back from crying on the way home. He wanted to do that. And I felt horrible that I knew that in our lifestyle it wouldn't be a good decision for me to commit so much time, like a part-time job that you actually pay money for, you don't make money. And now, and they were even telling you, a week from now, you're going to be at the grocery store all Saturday selling popcorn. And then in the winter, you're going to be selling these cards, like, $5 off the pizza parlor, whatever it is. So you're constantly selling stuff, spending your time to sell the stuff, plus you're paying. The uniform apparently costs something like over $100. You have to go drive to the next town to go get it. You have to pay $85 registration fee just to become a Boy Scout. So you're just spending all this time, money, and energy on top of an active, full lifestyle. And I got to think when I got home, so where's the money go? And then it made me think, this sounds a lot like a pyramid scheme, or what is it called, multi-level marketing, where people at the bottom do all the work, and then a few people at the top actually make the money. That's really what it comes across. So I Googled that, I searched it, and ultimately my preconceived idea was confirmed. And I actually learned that apparently Boy Scouts is kind of on the verge of bankruptcy. And I guess there was the situation where, people weren't in Boy Scouts as much and Cub Scouts as much. So then they opened it up for girls. They opened it up for people who were homosexual. When they did that, it actually sort of backfired, at least for the girl part of it, because then the Girl Scouts apparently sued the Boy Scouts because they were losing attendance in Girl Scouts to Boy Scouts. So, but I still keep thinking this feels like a pyramid scheme. So, me, along with all the other parents that I knew at that meeting, who are friends with my son, none of us committed to it. We all had to disappoint our sons and not do it because we knew the irony of overcommitting ourselves as parents to the point we actually aren't enhancing our relationship with our sons. So, solution, you love The Office, right? Michael Scott Paper Company. I'm basically doing that in my town. And I'm doing this thing small, but basically we're doing our own version of it. And here's how simple it is. There's a park nearby that has a creek in it, and it has a little trail that goes next to the creek. Well, I in a couple of weeks, I'm doing the first time, I'm going to do a scavenger hunt hike. And so I will plant little things for them to find, and I'll have a map, and we'll spend about an hour. Told the parents, hey, make sure your boys have shoes or boots, something to get in the creek, get wet, and it'll be fun. That's something. And it's not like I'm trying to grow the thing. I don't need to grow it bigger. Even if it's just my son and a couple friends, and we do that on a Saturday morning, and they have fun, success, and they get to be boys, and we get to be outside and bring the parents along. Let them be involved in this scavenger hunt hike too. And if that goes well, we'll do another one. And we can even do the same things the Boy Scouts were going to do. Archery, okay, well, we can find a place to do that. You want to go canoeing? We can do that. You want to go camping? Okay, we can do it. We can do all of these things. Pretty sure we can even do the Pinewood Derby. I think you can just buy something like that off the internet, and we can do our own. So ultimately, I'm really making this video for any parents who felt as discouraged as I did after that meeting. And because it's feeling of guilt, like, well, if I was a better parent, maybe I would commit all this time to doing all this stuff. After all, I had a great time doing that when I was a boy. But this is my solution for it. I'm just going to do my own with no agenda of it ever growing anything beyond a few boys, just a handful of them. If word spreads and more want to come, great. But there's no money in it for me. It's not like I'm trying to grow some kind of company. Just having fun for the sake of having fun, because if you have a boy, you get them outside and you let them have fun with other boys doing stuff where they're going to get muddy or they're going to get wet or whatever it is. Get outside and have fun. It's funny because that's so simple of a concept. Yet with Cub Scouts, it's the most complicated version of that. Not to mention there's like all the classes you have to go. There's a meeting once a week that you have to plan. You have to find a place for it. Then the leaders have their own meetings they got to go to. Then there's the actual monthly events. And again, then you're raising money the whole time and you're paying money to do this. And imagine on top of you and your spouse working full-time jobs and your son actually being in school not to mention things like church or sports and things like that. So I do believe after my exposure to it, I think things have changed. I don't think it was that way 30 years ago. I think it's become this way. This is my impression of it. But I'm just going to do my own, and then I think everything's going to be good. Can you relate to this story? I would love to know about it, because I feel I can already relate to you for the fact that you're watching this video. I think we've been through a similar experience. Your comment belongs right here.